On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. RFK Jr. is now across the finish line, found some major fraud, and we're actually finding out Trump's making funny little coded statements to some of the world leaders. We're going to talk about a lot of that. I have got some amazing stuff, too, with two of the biggest states in the nation, and we're seeing some significant change, seeing people called out, and seeing potential futures showing. It's a lot of stuff to, I would say, rejoice, frankly. Rejoice and be glad, because yours is the kingdom of God, and it is coming, folks. We are getting there. Here is him getting sworn in, RFK Jr. I've seen so many of these swearing-ins at this point, but still, these are important people. We'll hear something about Kash Patel, too, here in a second.
On which I'm about to enter. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr.
All right, supposedly he gave a quick little speech. Let's pull that up. Let's try to... Where the hell are you? There you are. There's his speech. Check it out.
For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me... He's now given me, he's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump. I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. Right. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country.
Dang straight. And this is the guy that's now going to start looking into some of the crazy stuff that we're putting into our bodies. Here is some information on that same general vein that is now coming out thanks to a lot of these people digging into this stuff, Congress finding out, doing investigations, and in this case, disclosure, which we're going to touch upon. Disclosure is a funny word because it's always typically meant UFOs, but I think disclosure is significantly larger than that, and I think many of us forget that a lot of the disclosures of the money, the fraud, the weight, like all this stuff, this is disclosure also. And so baby steps. We're not ready to find out about crazy woo-woo. We're still trying to just deal with the, wait, they've been lying to us? Yeah, yes. I'm sorry. Let's go back to step one. They have been lying to you, right? Like, so it's just challenging for all of us.
By law, all federal spending is required to be publicly available on usaspending.gov. We've known for a while that Dr. Fauci used NIH funding to finance bat coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, but it took the watchdog White Coat Waste Project to expose evidence that USAID was funding it too. In fact, the bulk of the money came from USAID. Yet no grants to the Chinese lab appeared on usaspending.gov. It was hidden from the public through layers of unreported subgrants and subawards. Thankfully, my push to defund EcoHealth Alliance was successful, and the group is now barred from receiving U.S. government grants. But this is why my TRACS Act must become law to prevent money being sent to China, the Taliban, or any other foreign adversary. Every grant recipient must be disclosed to ensure accountability, and we shouldn't stop there. My bipartisan Stop Secret Spending Act, introduced with Ranking Member Peters, would add additional transparency to federal spending. So, Mr. Schellenberger, I'll start with you, please. Why is USAID so secretive about how it spends billions of taxpayer dollars? Is it to avoid the public outrage over the waste, or is there something more nefarious there?
Well, thank you, Senator. And first of all, thank you for your leadership in bringing transparency and accountability to aid and the funding there. Obviously, this example you just gave of the Wuhan Institute of Virology is incredible. I mean, the fact it appears that the U.S. government funded the creation of the virus that caused the global pandemic.
Yeah, and I swear I've got another thing of Schellenberger at some point here. But yeah, that was, again, we're coming to terms with what's happening, who's responsible, and all of that. It's kind of a trip. Now, some fun stuff. This isn't quite the good governor stuff yet, but this is just outrageous and crazy. I love the fact that it's being thrown out there. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has endorsed the idea of abolishing property tax throughout the whole Sunshine State. He explains that it would require a constitutional amendment, so it's kind of a big deal. But he was also talking about how it seems to be one of the lamest forms of tax, especially like you kind of should be able to receive a property and keep it because it's yours, because you bought it. But to have to continue to pay tax on it does seem kind of strange and arbitrary. I understand that a lot of people, the way they would argue it, they'd be like, well, yeah, but those taxes go to such and such. It's like, we could pay for those things other ways, though. It doesn't have to be through property tax. We can tax, we tax everything as it is. So I think we've got to find better ways. But that's pretty cool. Ron DeSantis is doing that. A couple big positives, or a few positives, really. But this is huge. Court is ordering Trump Justice Department to declare whether it will continue Biden Justice Department's opposition to releasing Biden's audio tapes from special counsel interview. Who wants to bet those tapes are going to be released now? They're going to make Biden look horrible. We've already got him out of office. It's going to give a lot of people understanding into his cognitive abilities. And then on top of that, it's going to make a lot more sense for all the people that still kind of claim, no, he was fine, like Schumer and Pelosi, when in fact he wasn't. And anybody that spent any time with him would have figured that out. So a lot of that is going to be coming to the surface. It's going to suck. New York, top New York prosecutors, they resign because essentially the Department of Justice decided to drop its charges against Eric Adams. Two of the prosecutors that were there, kind of operating through the Southern District of New York. Big surprise, right? For those of you that at least are on the channel frequent enough, you know that's one of our hot spots. It's where all the horrible things are coming. Always. They're all locked up there. The Wiener laptop and the Epstein list, all that stuff is there. Sam Bankman-Fried stuff is there. Like, all that stuff is there. That's like the Vatican vaults of legal crap in this country. When we can finally take care of that, that'll work out great. But anyways, two Justice Department officials resigned because they didn't want to have to follow their order. They were being told what to do, and they're like, no, I'm not going to. And so, yeah, they've essentially been put on leave. We'll see where that continues to play out. President Trump says he did not direct the Department of Justice to drop this case, though. I will play it here.
A development in your hometown today. The U.S. Attorney has resigned over the DOJ's request to drop the case into Eric Adams. Did you personally request the Justice Department to drop that case?
No, I didn't. I know nothing about it. I did not. I think that, just to answer your other question, we're just going to get along well. We're going to get along with all countries. We're going to do very well. We're going to be doing, I think, record business,
what the hell is this all about? This is crazy back here. Like, Trump's talking and they're obviously translating on the fly, but it's like literally you can't do that another way. You got to be sitting right next to Trump's ear. And this is what I say, blah, 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 that every man, blah, 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 has, blah, 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 what the? Wow. Anyway, yeah. Could barely even concentrate on what he was saying because of her. Anyway, this is fantastic. I'm going to play it at 1.25 speed because it's long. It's 15 minutes. It is a gem. Folks, we're taking back two of the biggest states. This is the story where we're going to kind of show what's going on in New York, where they're calling a spade a spade. Got a couple of slides lined up along those lines. This is Homan and Eric Adams working together and disagreeing at the same time, which I think all of us have to become cool with. Because nobody on the other side is going to ever fully agree with us. And I've got a crazy story that we're going to close out with of the far extreme right that I fully do not agree with. I found two states that I obviously will never live in because they're just insane. I mean, I'll say it now. I have glasses for a reason. It'll make sense when we get there later. This is pretty awesome. Check this out, Tom Homan, Eric Adams. And I feel like they kind of got grilled by the Fox News anchors, which, maybe they needed that. I felt it was a bit unfair, but I think Eric took it like a champ, frankly. I think they could have been a little nicer to him, but they were hard-hitting. It was actually a pretty good interview. Check this out.
Mr. Mayor, from your perspective, how did this meeting go? Why was it necessary?
Good. I think that, and Tom can
think he had a real level of frustration, and he was trying to figure out, hey, what's going on, Eric? What is happening? And
Mr. Mayor, from your perspective, how did this meeting go? Why was it necessary?
Good. I think that, and Tom can speak for himself, I think he had a real level of frustration, and he was trying to figure out, hey, what's going on, Eric? What is happening? And we were able to and really articulate what are my powers, what are my authorities, and what are some of the things that we need to legislatively address that is preventing us from doing what we want to do, and that is getting dangerous people off our streets.
Right. And Tom Homan, as you know, Mayor, a couple days ago said he was angry at you in New York City because sounds like last time you guys got together over at Gracie Mansion, you probably said some stuff. Maybe we'd like to do this and that. And I think Mr. Homan, and Tom, you could start with this. You were frustrated that he wasn't doing enough. He wasn't keeping up his end of the deal.
Well, look, you know, I've been on that network for 4 years, and I've called the mayor up many times for not stepping up when it comes to public safety threats. But I tell you, when I sat down with him, I saw the cop in him. And he really does want to do the right thing because he is a cop. He's a lifelong cop. And so he wants to help take public safety threats off the streets of New York, make New York safer. He also wants to help find these missing children. We got 300,000 missing children. That many of them are here in the city. We know that. We got to find them. And he's, you know, we'll be working with his intelligence division, his officers, to save these children because many of these children are in forced sex trafficking. Many are in forced labor. We need to save them. And I think everybody can agree to that. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on.
And you know, people want to hijack this narrative and turn it into a political narrative where we're saying we need to have public safety. I requested the meeting. I reached out to his team and said, we want to sit down. This has been an issue I was talking about before the election. Spring of 2022. You look at these quotes over and over again, we need to go after these dangerous people in our street. And now I have someone that understands that narrative, and we are fighting together to get it done.
I know Tom has been on our network so many times saying he felt like ICE's hands were tied under the last administration. You've agreed to sign an executive order to open up an ICE office at Rikers Island so that these dangerous criminals that are here illegally can be deported. Tell the folks at home, because they'll hear this, they'll say, oh, they're going to come after me next. You said these are the worst of the worst. So who is at Rikers Island that will be deported? What have they done?
And you bring in 2 points where the far left has hijacked this narrative. ICE is running in our schools, ICE is running in our churches, and they are creating this frenzy. They're not in the business of just grabbing children, and we need to, you know, just stop all this noise. Rikers Island, particularly after all the reforms, Rikers Island is now having some of the most dangerous people in our city. And by having ICE on Rikers Island, part of our gang intelligence, using our intel with NYPD, correction officers, we could identify those gangs inside and outside on the street. There was no reason they were removed from Rikers Island. And as I sat down with Tom earlier, I said that we're going to look at all the legalese. I'm able to do an executive order to put them back on Rikers Island, what they should be with part of our criminal justice apparatus.
You have a left-wing legislature. Everybody knows it. And for some reason, nobody votes in New York, so the same left-wingers get in every time. But if you had your druthers, would New York City be a sanctuary city?
What we will always be. This has always been a city of immigrants.
So you think it should be?
No, let me explain, because this is what's getting conflated all the time. With a sanctuary city is stated that if you're in this city and you're paying taxes, you should have access to the services. What I asked the city council to do, change the bill that was already in place and modify it that if you are committing a crime, that we should be able to collaborate with ICE, even on civil enforcement, if you have committed a crime. That part of the bill is wrong. But everyday people who are here and today, they're moving to be documented. If they are going to school, working, paying taxes, then they should be able to provide police services, hospital services. Children should go to school. That is what we're saying.
You don't agree with that, Tom?
I don't agree. I think sanctuary is a sanctuary of criminals. But we walked out of the meeting yesterday, and getting back on Rikers Island is a game changer. We can get, not only we get the bad guys where they hit the street, the intelligence of how TDA operates, where they're operating, all this intelligence they gather at Rikers Island, we'll have access to. But no, I'm strictly against sanctuary city status just because I think sanctuaries are for criminals.
Right.
And
they're a magnet.
But the beauty here is that we're allowed to disagree. You know?
Right.
But we do agree on the fundamental that no matter who you are, it should be safe. So that's what people are missing. My life is sitting down with people I don't agree with 100% of the time. I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. But when Tom and I are in a room, we're both saying one thing. No matter who you are, if you're hurting innocent people in this city, you don't have a right to be in our country.
Well, here's the thing. You can disagree on things, but Tom has made it very clear that if a politician stands in the way of the federal government executing the law, they are going to bring charges against people like you. And in fact, we've seen the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, go after officials already. So was that part of the conversation yesterday?
No, I think it needed to be. I mean, we talked very frankly about, first of all, getting to Rikers Island, step one. That's the first step. We're working on some other things that we don't really want to talk about in open air just because the city council will be putting roadblocks upon us. But the mayor and me have committed to several other things to make the city safer. Further collaboration. Again, city council, I don't like him. I think, and Mayor Adams, he's dealing with the sanctuary law, right? That an EO can't override.
Right.
So we're working on some things to work around some of these things. So we
You're
can
being careful the way you describe it.
I've got to be very careful because the city council, they hate me, right? The city council, they don't want immigration enforcement in the city. So we got to make sure that we collaborate in a smart way so we can get more bad guys off the street.
That's the goal. And you said something that's very interesting. You said that elected officials who are standing in the way like me. Let's be clear. I'm not standing in the way. I'm collaborating against so many others that don't want to collaborate.
Well, now you're collaborating.
Like I said, go back to spring of 2022. I was saying we need to get dangerous people off our streets.
But it wasn't happening.
Is that true? We dropped crime in the city at remarkable levels.
Did you help ICE?
In the level of enforcement for criminal actions, yes. The law says, Eric, you cannot do it for civil enforcement. But for criminal actions, yes. The police department, we have increased the number of officers assigned to our task force. Every morning we meet with our HIDA representatives, city, state, and federal level. Public safety, number one. I've always pursued this. Everyone knows that's
now,
what
Mr.
I
Mayor,
stand.
what is City Council, what are they saying about you wanting to change the wording where we could go after the illegals, even if they're paying taxes, if they commit a crime? Because I saw Vicky Palladino, I know she's a New York City Councilwoman, she's a Republican, and then Robert Holden is a moderate Democrat.
Both of them, if you were to talk to them about that change, they would tell you we agree with Eric.
Okay.
But the overwhelming number of council members who have made it clear that they're not going to modify that law.
Why? What is their reason? Why would they protect the criminal?
Well, I think that you look at many of the policies that I put in place. Put in my anti-gun union, 20,000 guns removed off the street, put in 1,000 cops back in the subway system to bring down crime. All of these initiatives that I do around public safety, it's a constant fight with them because I think many people are articulating their personal reasons and not the feeling that the city has. 78% of New Yorkers stand with me, stand with what Tom is doing about getting these dangerous individuals.
But the problem is we don't know whether they're dangerous till they kill. Like that guy that put this woman on fire because she fell asleep on the subway. He didn't have a criminal, he didn't have a record, but after he lit up the woman on fire, now he's a problem. He didn't belong here. Same thing with Laken Riley's killer, who was housed here, went to Georgia and killed. So even though you say, well, we want to be open to people, we don't know these guys are criminals until they act, and then it's too late. Then they become a problem. But if they never got here, they wouldn't be a problem.
And that's what's good about what we're doing right now, what Tom, the border czar, has done. I've said it over and over again. We need to control our borders and not allow people to come into the country, gang members coming into the country, people who are here to commit crime. I think what we've witnessed the border czar has done, we have seen a substantial decrease in that flow.
Tom, you know the NYPD. How frustrated are they that they can't fully have your back, be able to tell them exactly where these guys are, be able to go into these raids with you?
Oh, they're frustrated. I mean, the NYPD wants to protect their streets too, and they want to enforce the law, and they want to collaborate with us. I mean, I don't think I met a single uniform in the 4 years I've been coming to the studio to sit out front. I shake everyone their hands. We had dinner with officers last night, not only from NYPD. We had dinner with officers from Newark and from Philadelphia. We had a whole table full of officers that want to do the right thing. They want to collaborate with us. But I think yesterday's meeting, I came to New York City. I wasn't going to leave without nothing.
Right.
I did the last time, and I told them I'm not leaving until I got something. And we're back into records. That's huge. But we got other things we're working on. So I'm hoping. And now I got him on the couch in front of millions of people. He can't back waving us now, right? So I think you're going to see things move in the right direction. I really, truly believe that.
We don't want to give the false impression that there's no collaboration around criminal justice. We collaborated with ICE to take down a very dangerous gang member who was trying to put grenades in our city, caught with a gun. So there's real collaboration with HIDA, our criminal justice apparatus on the city, state, and federal level. We want ICE to come and be a part of that meeting as well.
Governor Hochul said last night with Rachel Maddow that she would consider removing you. How would you feel about that?
She has her role, I have my role. And throughout this entire ordeal, which I think no American should have to go through, the torment of 15 months that my family and I had to endure for something I didn't do. I didn't do anything wrong. Throughout the entire ordeal, I said one thing. My attorney will handle the legal part. I'm going to handle running the city. We return jobs to our city. Our city's getting safer. We're building housing. I think that this is a great American narrative where I stood focused on what I was elected to do.
I want you to address the
Governor Hochul is an embarrassment of the position she holds. She stands on media after someone's burned alive on a subway. She stands in front of TV cameras and says, I think criminal aliens should be removed too. But she's got the green light law. The men and women of ICE and Border Patrol, when they pull a vehicle over, law enforcement, you're in law enforcement your whole career. What's the first thing you're going to do? You run the license plate number. Are these wanted? Is there a warrant for these people? Who are they? Are they dangerous? Is that car stolen? All these things, right? Do you know ICE and CBP can't run DMV data on New York State license plate? So they're pulling over people not even know who the hell they are.
Is that the green light law?
The green light law. So she, on one point, she's saying, well, I think criminals should be removed too, but then she locks us out of DMV data. Right. That'd be like us locking officers out of NCIC, the Fed zone. Would we do that? No, because officer safety is paramount. She's putting the men and women at ICE at risk every day. The job's already dangerous. So Governor Hochul, she needs to be removed. Everybody needs to be removed, needs to be her. She supports sanctuary policy.
I don't know anyone who thinks she's doing a good job. She's an embarrassment. It's hard for me to be impartial on that.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The migrant shelter, it's this called a mega migrant shelter that's going to be built in the Bronx. We interviewed a representative from the Bronx, and he said he talks to everyone on the street. Not one person wants that facility built. What's the status on that? Is there any way
that's a great. You know what's interesting? If I go to anywhere in the city, when I had 220,000 migrants here, anywhere in the city, and ask who would like a shelter there, not one elected would raise their hand. And then you ask them the next question, how many of you went to Washington, D.C. under the previous administration and said, you need to stop this? I took 10 trips there. So you cannot represent your concern merely from the sterilized environment of your office space. They should have been with us saying, we need to stop this flow, and they weren't. And so the shelters have to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, how long is the federal government going to be paying for the Roosevelt Hotel or any of these other sanctuary hotels?
We're continuing to close them down because of the job that we did. 180,000 out of our system. We closed down Floyd Bentonfield.
So one at a time, closing them down?
No, more than one at a time. We have to close down as the population decrease. We put in place a 30 and 60-day plan. No one can stay longer than that.
Because your president that you were working for and what worked for his reelection let that happen and didn't take your phone calls when you asked for help.
100%.
He
I agree.
iced you out. So
right.
you can have a decision.
That's a good point.
Right.
Well, the days of the federal government paying for the migrant centers are over.
Good.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayor,
yes.
you're going to run for re-election?
Yes.
Are you considering running as a Republican?
No, I'm going to run on the Democratic line. We petitioning to starting soon, running as a Democrat. There's many Democrats, like you look at those 78% that believe what we do, what ICE is doing about getting dangerous people out. I think that we have to get people out to vote. That is the problem.
But you're losing by about 25 points to former Governor Cuomo, who wants to be Mayor Cuomo.
Well, listen to this. I had another Andrew in my previous race. He was beating me by double digits in February, but we don't call Andrew Yang mayor. We call Eric Adams mayor. Never give up. New Yorkers never give up. People had me gone months ago, but you know what? I'm sitting on your couch.
You are sitting today talking about the new alliance between ICE and Adams. So thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. Alliance was never severe.
Yeah, and if he doesn't come through,
you're up early anyway.
If he doesn't come through, I'll be back in New York City, and we won't be sitting on the couch. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?" So,
I want ICE to deliver. And I want ICE to deliver. We're going to deliver for the safety of the people of this city. Right. Let's focus on every American and New Yorker should have the right to have an opportunity and survive in this city.
We're going to hold you to that.
American first. Thank you, Tom. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you,
Mr.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
So much. It's so nice to have this collaboration.
I am just kind of shocked at how awesome he is. I don't know. I'm very much starting to like him. I am not as hung up as a lot of people with the letter by their name. I like Fetterman, you guys know, Manchin I've stuck up for a lot. Like, I'll stick up for people that I think are actually America first. Maybe they're coming at it from their angle, but coming at it as America first, and we just disagree on some stuff. All right, cool. Let's do this together. It'll be fun. We'll have some fun conversations at least, right? As opposed to somebody that's so insistent that you accept their way of belief, or you're somehow insulting or hurting them, or the name calling, right? Like, once it gets into that level, it's stupid. But when you can actually have a discussion and disagree, it's powerful. So what is happening, I think, is pretty cool. A lot of people are doing this now. I'm 100% sure that he doesn't necessarily like that, but it's still funny as hell, right? I mean, nonetheless. Gavin Newsom, to cover the other coast here, he's vowing to veto a bill blocking California corrections from cooperating with ICE. This is huge because politically there's no way to survive this. This, in my opinion, was, I don't want to say a trap. It's like a legitimate thing that needs to happen, makes sense, but they knew that they would resist because of the whole sanctuary concept they've got going on. But here's the thing. If you're in prison because you've done some really horrific thing and you're here illegally, why are you paying for it, Gavin? Or even you're giving state money to private corporations that own the prisons, which is a whole another, don't get me started on that. But Newsom vows to block that. Why? Because Tom Homan's going to crawl up his ass if he doesn't. Now, an interesting point was made here. James Lee posted, California is about to spend $500 million to destroy a dam that supplies water to 600,000 people in a fire-prone region. So Gavin Newsom, trying to make up for he's going to veto that bill that made it through the state legislature, because our state's ridiculous, and this is the internal legislature. He's now going to destroy a dam. Dams, I get where some of the arguments can be made. There's certainly fish ladders with most of them, so you kind of get past a lot of those things. I grew up around locks when I was younger. Spent a lot of time down there, and it was so much fun. And they had a fish ladder. We used to just spend hours there. It was ridiculous. We had no life. It was amazing what you could do to entertain oneself when we were younger. But he's going to get rid of this dam. This dam's actually a reservoir of water. Water's a really important thing, and where is he going to do? He's probably just going to flood it out someplace, right? He doesn't want us to have the ability to have water. Now, something funny popped up. I love this, and it's a threat, I'm guessing. There is the possibility that Kamala Harris is going to run, because I think Gavin Newsom can't run again. I think he's termed out. It's just whether he makes it to the end of his term is going to be the question mark. Hopefully not. It's going to be a race against time, folks. We might not need to. I don't know. The way things played out, everyone said we had to get rid of Biden, right? We had to, the Brunel, whatever those three brothers' names are, right? That case has to happen or else we're all going to die. Like, again, it's been the same, crazy stuff that we've heard about climate change. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, anybody that ever comes at me just with super ultra crazy stuff, I'm instantly all right, you probably haven't thought this through or something. I don't say that to them. I play it smart because they could be crazy. But you got to understand that the way it's actually played out, one, has just been kind of off the charts as far as I didn't see that kind of coming really. But at the same time, nothing huge has happened yet anyways. So again, interesting how this plays out. But Kamala's saying she's going to run for governor. Rick Grinnell said, look, here's the thing. If she runs, I'm running for governor. And Rick Grinnell, again, he's gay. He actually stands a really solid chance of winning. And that would be pretty cool. So anyway, I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm hoping that at some point we have reasons to believe that the world can be fair and safe again. Apparently a drone has attacked Chernobyl. Now, they're blaming it on Russia, of course. And this actually did hit the outer wall, the outer containment area. Russia makes their reactors very different than ours. Ours are actually, at least the ones that are booby-shaped, they are actually designed to keep any sort of containment within. That's that whole little thing that runs up to the top where the nipple is. That's actually a containment system. It starts spraying out all sorts of crazy shit if something happens, right? It's meant to anyways. I doubt any of them actually work properly. Whatever, maybe. But they build theirs essentially to keep weather out, and then the reactor's just in there. And that's contained. The reactors are safe, but if there's a breach of the reactor, then it would immediately release. There'd be nothing else to stop it. In the case of a lot of our booby-shaped ones, at least, the reactor's safe, but that's also contained within the big giant concrete thing. So it is meant to, in case something happens. This is them literally hitting the outer structure. Are they anywhere near the reactor? No, but this is stupid. Now, they're blaming Russia for doing this. I don't know where you guys are at in the whole scheme of Russia, but I'm going to say with 99% surety, 100% on this, 99% on this, this wasn't Russia. And it was one drone. This was definitely not Russia. Russia wouldn't do this. Russia doesn't want this to happen. This would affect Russian people. Of course they don't want this to happen. But there's been a number of times where Ukraine has errantly almost caused damage here multiple times. So yes, this is not a good idea. And this, I don't know what reactor this was. This thing protecting the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. I thought, is Chernobyl still active? Oh, okay. I thought they shut it down after, but yeah, apparently they still had the other reactors were fine. But yeah, so this is, again, them trying to escalate. And this is kind of how things can change. This is the problem. Stock markets and stuff don't react well to things like that. And not all these things react well to bullets. They don't have that either. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. We got this problem with the financial system that I think has been, working well-ish for the deep state for a long time. Well, these things are changing, and we are going through a transition, and exactly how that plays out is a big, giant question mark. One of the things that I think about is, do I want to leave a bunch of my eggs in the stock market cash basket? There's one, I question personally whether everything's valued appropriately. 2, a lot of this DEI stuff. 3, the fact that USAID money has now been cut out, and there's many, many, many billions of dollars that are no longer in circulation. And then how does that ripple effect work? Because there's going to be fallout from that. Again, we've called it the scream test. When I worked in IT, we literally would have a server that nobody knew if anyone really contacted it, and it was there. So you just shut it off and see if anyone ever gets pissed. And yeah, this is what's happening. We're going to find out who screams. Now, instantly, Congress started screaming, and we've got some stuff to dig into that a little bit. But we've also started hearing other countries, other non-government organizations, all sorts of different things. We've got judges that are definitely overstepping their bounds. That's going to be fun, watching how that legislative side of this plays out. Again, Trump is operating because of what the Supreme Court said when he's immune, essentially, while he is operating as commander-in-chief, as executive branch. He has huge leniency. So to have a judge say, you can't do that, Trump can come back and say, well, I actually can, and until we appeal this, I'm actually not going to do what you're telling me to do, because my constitutional demand, or my oath that I swore, supersedes what you're telling me. What you're giving me is a bad order, and I won't do it. And how that plays out is going to be very, very fun, because the judge can't really do anything. So a lot of question marks. Those things aren't good for stock markets. Stock market hates question marks. It's the reason why I thought precious metals is probably a good thing. I've done some dabbling. You can pick it up. You can get it coin by coin. You can get a bunch. You can actually use my good friends at Goldco for a lot of things. They have many, many suppliers. They've also got the highest price buyback guarantee. That's pretty cool. But what they do surprisingly well is not necessarily believe the crazy crap I say, but they, tax-free, penalty-free, can help you move some of your 401k or IRA. Kind of moving some of those eggs out of that basket, right? You can still leave some there, or as much as you want, really. From my understanding, they don't usually recommend going higher than 50%, but you're splitting that into a precious metals basket, which is actually doing very well, has always been very safe as crazy is happening. And we've been seeing spikes in prices the whole entire way and still spiking. Trump is going to help get things fixed, but again, there's not all the boogeymen are gone yet. And this part of the process is where we're most concerned. It's just something to think about. I want you to get your data points, your 4 data points, and then get your information so you can make a smart decision. Gold and silver kit. Just find out about it, how you can do it tax-free, penalty-free into a precious metals IRA. It's pretty awesome. It's actual physical metal. It's stuck like in a trust or something like that. It's all explained in there. 4 data points, like I said. If you do have a qualifying 401k or IRA, they're going to actually give you like 20 minutes to call. There's a little pop-up that happens when you click the button. And if you do call, you're going to get that free Ronald Reagan coin first off, and I think some other cool stuff. It's just very cool. They like the fact that you're kind of reaching out and that you're inquisitive, and it does help the process move forward as far as finding information. What you decide to do, there's no high pressure. It's not like that at all. This is one of the beautiful things about this company. Goldco is really awesome at how they work. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. If you're just buying precious metals, you can still call them. I don't know. You might even get the Ronald Reagan coin. If you say, I was hoping I'd get the coin, they might give it to you. Who knows? Hit them up, though. They've got platinum. They got palladium. They got some other different cool metals and stuff like that you can get. So check out all the stuff. They removed the minimum that you used to have to buy. So if you want to spend a few bucks and convert some cash that you got lying around, yeah, it's probably not a horrible idea. You're going to get something that's going to help ride through this crazy time, too. And it's kind of fun to have. I'll be honest. I like them. I think they're pretty as hell. Just something about them. I like the sound that silver makes on silver, too. That's why I have 2 of them out. I love it. All said, go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system while you can. At least get something out of that system while you can. Now, we have shared this before. It is so important. I'm sharing it again, and it's relevant to what we're going through right now. When this plays through the legal system, it's going to be fantastic. The media, mainstream media, as much as this bothers so many people, they're never going to talk about it. Probably never, ever. They'll most likely go out of business before they actually talk about it. It's like a spy that's got a cyanide capsule, right? They're like, I won't tell you anything. And they eat the capsule and damn. So they'd probably rather do that, which is fine. But just to remind everybody, and this is from screw.gov, I guess. I came across a lawyer, Tom Rentz, who actually read Trump's DOGE executive order and, expecting some illegal power grab, found it to be airtight. Turns out, Trump and Musk didn't create anything. Obama did. Obama created United States Digital Services, USDS, in 2014. It was meant as a bureaucratic patch job to fix the Obamacare website meltdown. Fast forward to 2025. Trump rebrands it DOGE, United States DOGE Service. He took the digital part and changed it to DOGE, leaving the name identical. So it keeps the acronym the same, keeps the funding, but gives it a whole new mission. Find the receipts. Legally untouchable because it was already fully funded and operational, Trump invokes 5 U.S.C. 3161, which allows him to create temporary hiring authorities. DOGE teams get embedded inside every single federal agency. Each team consists of a lawyer, HR rep, a Zoomer nerd, and an investigator. They report to DOGE, not the agency they're embedded in. But wait, there's more. It's not sold in any store. Trump invokes 44 U.S.C. Chapter 35, which governs federal IT and cybersecurity oversight. Since USDS was originally an IT oversight body, DOGE now has full access to all federal data systems. Yes, that's right. All of them. His executive order is written to block legal challenges, includes language that overrides conflicting executive orders, orders every agency to comply. Refusal means they violate presidential authority, which is a big no-no. Congress can't defund it because it's not a new program, just a repurposed one. DOJ can't sue for overreach because Trump used existing laws exactly as written. Democrats trying to file legal challenges run into standing issues because DOGE operates within existing frameworks. Obama literally built the perfect administrative, aka deep state IT, backdoor. Trump and Musk just hacked the system and took the admin controls. Musk now has legal oversight of every major agency's internal systems. The administrative state can't stop it without rewriting multiple federal laws. They legally outplayed the system, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Obama created DOGE. Uh-oh. And legally, they have nothing. Here is Alina Habba truly explaining it, saying it out loud, exactly what is happening 3 times, basically, it seems, right here.
If we want to save money, people are going to get upset. Why are they getting upset? Because we're taking money out of their pockets. The best thing that Elon Musk is going to do is going to look at people's salaries and say, okay, if you make X amount of money and you're worth $68 million, we're going to look at why that is. And that's really the bottom line, because we could talk about everything, every executive order, but there is a panic in D.C. at this moment where I now live, and it is very simple. We are cutting them off from their funding. And that means politicians, not just saving taxpayer dollars. And that's where the panic is coming from. It's pretty basic. In our administration, we have a tremendous amount of billionaires who are successful businessmen. And I could name them all, but we know who they are, who have taken a leave, sold their companies, walked away from their lives to sacrifice to help America be great again. There are many. Many. Now, Elon's become a target for one very simple reason, because he is cutting the funding to these politicians who have put their bureaucratic, personal financial gain and interest above the American people. That is the difference. That may not be felt by some of the other people that are in the administration that have done the same thing that Elon does, that are incredibly successful billionaires. But they are targeting him because he is cutting their lifeline, their financial. Listen, Nancy made how much money? And we're going to go down the line of looking at all these people. There is no reason, as a federal employee, me included, I shouldn't walk out richer from the federal government. That should not be the case. No, and I open you up to look, because it's not going to happen. You don't do it. The only reason they're screaming about Elon, it's very simple. Nobody has said it yet, and I'm going to say it. It's because they're hitting their pockets. Only reason they're screaming about Elon. They're not screaming about Howard Lutnick. They're not screaming about Bergman. They're not screaming about those billionaires. They're screaming about him. And that's because he's going in and hitting where it hurts. So you know what happens when you scream and when you sing songs outside at a rally, which, by the way, what are you doing on the American taxpayer dollars creating songs against the Republican Party? It's bizarre. But when you're doing things like that, that says to me one very simple thing. We have hit your Achilles heel, and we will continue to hit you. We will look at why our children are not educated. We will look at why our children have an increase in ADHD. We will look at why our borders are not safe, why our security is crazy, and why there is fentanyl crisis right now in our country like we have never seen. Because illegal immigrants were supposed to come in and vote for Kamala Harris, but it didn't work out for them. So they are panicking. And Elon may be triggering just a little bit of insecurity, which is that they are worried about us looking at exactly what they've done and exactly how much they've made. And that is now stopping. And it's a panic. It's very simple.
They're having a panic attack is what it is. Throwing a little tantrum in the grocery store. Top Elon Musk aide arrives at the IRS to scrutinize operations. They're at the IRS. Just saying. We'll find out what comes from that. A reporter asked if President Trump expected the IRS to close. Here's his discussion with that question.
Mr. President, DOGE workers arrived today, Gavin Clagger and others arrived today at the IRS. Do you expect to close the IRS, or what are you expecting?
No, I don't expect it, but I think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing. And you know, that force is building these, I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And you know, they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people. We need smart people, yes.
Hey, my crazy Florida friends, you have a giant-ass lake in the middle of Florida? What is that? Is that Trump's going to build a new water park, or what's going on? Do you guys have a lake that big? And I don't recall ever seeing that. That's huge. That's like, what happened? There's probably so many alligators living around there. Oh, my God, it's going to be frightening. No dogs anywhere. Anyway, good stuff. Here is more of the same. DOGE Task Force is they've identifying some waste and fraud over at Scott Turner's secretary. Turner, what's he in charge of? Oh, HUD. Yeah, HUD. This is again, we're finding waste everywhere. It's so awesome.
I'm happy to announce the DOGE Task Force here at HUD. We will be very detailed and deliberate about every dollar spent in serving tribal, rural, and urban communities across America. With President Trump's leadership, business as usual, the status quo is no longer the posture that we will take. And with the help of DOGE, we will identify and eliminate all waste, fraud, and abuse. We've already identified $260 million in savings and still have much more to.
That is just crazy. Much more to go. Yeah, that is wild. I mean, right? Everywhere they look, it's just the more they spend as an agency, the more fraud we will likely find. Here is President Trump's Caroline Leavitt talking about having the receipts. Now, I will say, I think this is one thing that I gave my buddy at the gym a hard time. A lot of times, he comes at me with some stuff that's a little far on the conspiracy side and oftentimes doesn't come true. But in this case, he was right. And I was, I think, playing it down a little bit. I'm still surprised, like what Musk is saying. It just blows my mind if this is actually true, that they're literally operating with physical files. I can't imagine why that, unless they're scanning. I don't know. This I look forward to finding out more about this, because this is actually was one of those things for me that was even hard for me to believe. It even surprised me. I'm like, really? You're using physical paper and process, and you're doing it like a Iron Mountain bunker? What the? Huh? Wow.
Receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOGE found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a council for inclusive innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOGE identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one. $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing. These are the line items across the federal government that DOGE is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what DOGE is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the mine. I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to DOGE. And I also have a DOGE daily report, if anybody would like it, on all of the things that they are identifying and finding. We're happy to provide this information to you. We're talking about it every single day.
Are all those things you just mentioned fraud, or are they waste, or are they just contrary to the president's policies?
I would argue that all of these things are fraudulent, they are wasteful, and they are an abuse of the American taxpayer's dollar. This is not what the government should be spending money on. It's contrary to the president's priorities and agenda. And again, we can continue to provide you the receipts for all of the fraud, waste, and abuse. And if anybody in here wants to argue that the federal government is not fraudulent in some capacity, be my guest, because I think the American people watching at home would beg to differ.
And that's the thing. They're making it impossible to maintain the stance they're having. A Defy DOGE protest is taking place outside the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This is what's funny. We've literally got people protesting the removal of waste and fraud, and we're bringing the goods. We are showing, and it's like there's countless examples. Like Trump said he was going to share the 200. I hadn't actually seen anything on that today, oddly, but he was going to share the 200 top ones that he thought. And then like 3 of them he said were like legit, literally. And that almost doesn't surprise me, right? I was shocked about the underground thing. I think she mentioned that. If not, she will at some point mention that. But yeah, we're in a weird place right now when it comes to the government. Like everything's being shown. The people that are fighting against it, they're fighting against really weird stuff, right? Like, are you serious? They're just waste and fraud. Yeah, we should have more of that. Like, huh? Well, that waste and fraud was going to transgender turtles that have coke addict problems. Yeah, I don't know. There seems like some crazy stuff they were coming up with. DOGE just canceled a $25,000 grant for empowering LGBTQIA+ refugees in Greece. The country, not to, it wasn't a musical that they were doing. That would have been rad, and that would have made sense. And that actually might have made sense for the $25,000, frankly. But no, the country. They're just trying to empower gay people. Or, well, sorry, all the letters, people. Yeah. Thomas Massey posted this. He's gained some points with me today. I'm going to say he's actually, there were like 2 different posts I saw. I was like, okay. All right. I don't know what the hell's going on with you, buddy, but okay. All right. Let's talk. Let's sit at the table. Let's have a meal together, right? Have a drink. But here he's posting, if cutting government funding shuts down an NGO, which is a non-government organization, if cutting government funding shuts down an NGO, it is not and never was a non-governmental organization. Right? If that somehow affects the government or, shuts down an NGO and it somehow hurts the government, then it was never an NGO at all. People magazine says Elon's been sleeping on the floor in his government office across the street from the White House. There's supposedly a couch in there, and sometimes he chooses to sleep on the floor. I'm not surprised he's sleeping in the office. That's actually a very common thing, especially probably where Elon lives and breathes. I think a lot of his life is spent, or was anyways, spent in these offices for days at a time when they've got important things to do. And why get a hotel? It's just easier to be there. I mean, there's showers and stuff usually in the executive suite, so I have a hard time believing that they don't actually have like a cot or something. Like they've got so much cool, cheap technology of portable beds. It's like, come on, man, on a floor? Like, okay, I mean, maybe that, I know people that like that. My girlfriend's really fond of the floor. She thinks it's cool. I don't know. Tom Homan talking about, about AOC and her little shenanigans that I talked about yesterday. And I said it's probably illegal. And, well, dadgummit, Tom Homan, you're listening to me. I doubt it. I don't believe that. But, I mean, I just like the fact that I'm saying the right thing sometimes.
But, Tom, you got AOC out there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment is impediment, in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is about public safety. This is about community safety. Knowingly releasing a public safety back in the public is just stupid. You're putting the public at great risk. You're putting our officers at great risk. You're even putting the illegal alien at great risk because anything can happen on arrest on the street. So we just want to make common sense. In sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. Step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going to.
Well, and everyone, blue cities across America, get ready. Tom, as always, thank you.
Yeah. The AOG's got to opine on the AOC. It's just kind of fun when you play around with the letters like that. Christy, don't put this out. I have clawed back the full payment that FEMA deep state activists unilaterally gave the New York City migrant hotels. FEMA was funding the Roosevelt Hotel that serves as a Tren de Aragua base of operations and was used to house Lake and Riley's killer. Mark my words, there will not be, another dollar given, whatever. Interesting little tidbit of information here that at least I thought was interesting. So President Trump, he's now directing DOGE to focus on CPS, Child Protective Services, and the foster child system. Child traffickers are being prosecuted and will be doing hard time in jail. They were even trying to pass a law, I forget where the hell it was, that would limit it might have actually been in D.C. even, that would limit the penalty given to people that get caught up in online sting operations that are child predators. Yeah, these people are sick. So Cemex concrete plant, Cemex Inglewood concrete plant, a whole bunch of Cemex places around here. And there seems to be a little bit of a tie-in. This is in the Los Angeles, Hollywood kind of area, right? There's a lot of these little businesses that are being called out. We're going to see what they end up finding, but I think this will probably pop back up in the future as a place of bus or something to that effect. This is pretty powerful. Talking about talking about Kash Patel, an update. This is actually a Congress member talking about why and what's going on in the delay and how they're basically going to run out of time. And yeah, he.
Hey, I want to give everybody an update on Kash Patel. First of all, yes, I'm driving down the turnpike in Oklahoma. My son's got a little procedure this morning. Happy Valentine's to my wife and I. So we're going to Norman for his surgery. But what I want to do is kind of give you an update on what's happened here. You remember Kash Patel has been held up now for a week because of procedural motions that the Democrats are doing. But to just give you kind of history here, first of all, they absolutely bombarded him with questions before they would even hear him in the committee. Written questions, hundreds of written questions. And then they just wanted to destroy him in the committee, which didn't work. We passed him out of committee. And then when he came to the floor, they put a 1-week hold on him. Now they've informed us that they're going to do procedural motions on him to prevent him from being the director of the FBI, which is going to fail. All it does is just delay the end result, which is he's going to be confirmed. But it doesn't just draw the question that the agency that was weaponized to go after President Trump for the last 4 years is the one they're fighting harder to keep the director of the FBI to be confirmed? maybe they have something to hide. Maybe I'm just looking into it. But it's ridiculous because they know they're going to lose. By the end of next week, all their procedural motions, all their holds they can do truly runs out of time. And by this time next week, Kash Patel will be the director of the FBI, and maybe we'll find out what they're hiding.
Yeah, the FBI is definitely one that freaks them out, unquestionably. Judge blocks Trump order curbing youth gender transition treatments. There's a lawsuit going on. Kind of funny, the companies that are trying to stop them, it's not actually any real person. It's actually just advocacy groups that are trying to do this. Of course, one's for transgender stuff. So they're fighting this. Of course, the judge is trying to tell Trump, you can't do that. Stopping stuff like that's for one thing. Trying to claw back money or force him to make payments as a state judge or a district judge, even trying to force the federal government to behave a certain way. Yeah, that's very questionable. Here is Thomas Massey. Again, this was the second thing where I was just like, all right, damn it, you go, boy. All right, shoot.
Record or ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record. Mr. Schellenberger, can you explain how you traced USAID funding that served as the basis for whistleblower report in 2019, which led to the impeachment of President Trump?
Sure. Well, you may remember that the so-called whistleblowers in the White House was actually a CIA analyst. And in that whistleblower's complaint, which led to the impeachment, one of the central pieces of evidence was created by a USAID funded and controlled organization called the OCCRP. And we have another piece out today about how it participated in the Russiagate hoax as well, creating essentially very important information leading to that. So, I mean, you have in USAID a much larger fund of money and a much broader strategy for information control that included censorship, but also, as I mentioned, taking control of investigative journalism really worldwide. I mean, its ambitions were, amazing. So, yeah, I mean, that's an agency. When we saw that get shut down by DOGE, I thought that was completely appropriate. If there's something in there that it was doing that's valuable, then you could refund it later. But my view, same thing with CISA, death penalty for organizations that participated in violations of the First Amendment like CISA. Cybersecurity is an extremely important function. It shouldn't be contaminated and undermined by censorship activities.
Well, I think it's always been known that our government has funded the change in administrations, if we can say it politely, of other governments. But isn't it borderline treason when the taxpayer when organizations entrusted with protecting our country are now undermining our own government?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're trying to do regime change, illegal, if you're weaponizing DHS, FBI, CISA, that's treasonous regime change activities redirected, that we developed abroad for regime change, directed against the American people and our representatives. I mean, it's shocking, and we still haven't dealt with it as a country.
Mr. Chairman, I see my time has expired. I'd like to introduce into the record.
Yeah, all right. He introduces stuff. But yeah, Massey, I think doing a reasonably good job-ish on stuff. Whatever. Hurts me a little to say it. Whatever. Judge orders Trump administration to temporarily allow funds for foreign aid to flow again. Literally. Federal judge ordered Trump administration on Thursday to temporarily lift a 3-week funding freeze. Yeah, temporarily lift it. You need to continue spending that money. This judge has no right to do that. Zero right to do that. Again, how this plays out, I think it's going to be fun. I don't think there's any way in hell Trump's going to let them tell him what he can do as the executive branch, as the executor of the executive branch. There's no way. No way in hell. But yeah, this is going to come to a fun little head. We'll see. Federal prosecutors drop criminal probe into ex-World Wrestling, WWE? What is that? World Wrestling Entertainment. There we go. Sorry, I wasn't a huge wrestling fan. Had a couple buddies that were, so I'd come hang out with them. We'd watch some of it. Hulk Hogan was cool back in the day. But all said, I don't know what's going on now. But anyway, yeah, constant communication, blah, blah, blah. There's supposedly sexual misconduct that the FBI was investigating, obviously because Vince McMahon was being very pro-Trump, so they were coming after him. That case has been dropped. Elon Musk posted this: if any judge anywhere can stop every presidential action everywhere, we do not live in a democracy. Oh, Brazil, do you hear that? Yeah, if any judge anywhere can stop every presidential action, not okay. Not okay. Also, some breaking information that came out. Rep. Anna Paulina Luna's task force has officially requested the Epstein client list by sending a letter to the Department of Justice. Yeah, they don't even need Kash Patel for this yet, though Kash is coming. I think we know that. FTC chair endorses Trump's ability to fire commissioners. It's kind of a long, drawn-out bit of information to get through this, but ultimately, this is starting a situation where the FTC can actually fire people that have kind of been entrenched and they're contracted in. It's one of those things where you can't touch them because they're part of the bureaucracy. This is a move towards getting rid of that. There was a Supreme Court decision known as Humphrey's Executor, and in 1935, the court ruled that the president could only dismiss the head of an independent agency for cause. The new Trump approach holds that the heads of other board members can be fired based on the president's will. We do have Biden, by the way, firing one of these people. So it's been done recently, and it was upheld by the Supreme Court. So the intent is to basically, this is going to be another kind of like Roe v. Wade thing. This goes back 90 years, but this is basically another Roe v. Wade thing to the extent that it's not we're pushing it back to the states as much as overruling what was previously done. It was considered a very crazy court back in those days. So supposedly there's some people on the court right now, on the Supreme Court right now, that would like to discuss that. So this should be interesting. This is a powerful speech. J.D. Vance is, I'm going to say, a rock star, dude. The dude, Trump, so far there's not been one thing that I've seen anybody do in Trump's inner circle for sure that I've don't feel like I feel like they're nailing it. Let's put it that way. It's much easier than trying to go into the negative. Wow. And here's J.D. Vance talking about free speech in Europe in front of a bunch of European doucheholes.
It's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
I, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
That is incredible. So, yes, we are we have a kick-ass vice president as well. So here's the thing that's funny, and I think Trump did a brilliant thing. Remember how all presidents, I don't know, go back, I don't know about Kennedy or whatever. I don't even know about Ford. Like, I don't know. I would say not even Reagan, obviously. Reagan had George Bush, and George Bush is a very intelligent man. Evil as hell, but intelligent. Deep state, hardcore. But every president after that, though, they always had a doofus for the president. Bush had, Quayle, right? That guy was a doorknob. What we got? Clinton, he didn't have a very good one. I don't remember, right? Like, I'm going to fail on this all over the place. Kamala, obviously, the most recent. Trump, no. Major player. What does that mean? That means if something happens to Trump, if you kill me, this is who you're getting. Someone that's still going to kick your ass. Our vice president's a badass. I think we all should be very proud of our country right now, right? Make America great again. It's happening. This was posted on 0420. I wonder if it has a relation to the numbers. Of course. Light bulb moment while shoveling. Trump is about to start naming orgs and maybe persons that were getting fraudulent dollars. What was the largest, most inflationary package Biden passed? The Green New Deal. Who was in charge of distributing those funds? John Podesta. Yeah, some stuff's coming out, folks. This was an interesting story that's been brought to our attention. So Trump's method of blunt threats and limited public information has disturbed most Canadians who were not even aware of the problems or its extent. Far better communications with the Canadian public and the leader of the opposition would have likely brought about a good result and enhanced Trump's long-term relations with Canadians. Canada has become a Chinese drug production hub, we've come to find. Cooper says it is. After 10 years researching, he has written a book arguing that Chinese Communist Party officials, businessmen, and drug traffickers have established a production hub in Canada. For decades, Canada's weak enforcement against transnational crime, weak control of borders, has allowed international organized crime and with linkage to hostile states, but most specifically China, but also Iran. Biggest fentanyl super lab in the world. This is like the Breaking Bad of fentanyl. It's happening. And we know it's now coming across the border. Largest fentanyl lab ever discovered. Super lab busted in Vancouver. Chinese organized crime likely, or Iran. Unreal. 100 million doses shipped south to northwest U.S. on ships through our ports that have no law enforcement. Canada. I point up like they're actually up. It's north, wherever the hell that is from my standpoint. I think it's somewhere off that direction, frankly. But, I have a compass. It's beautiful right now, by the way. Just saying. It's a gorgeous thing. Always know your way. You just have to stand there for a second while it spins around. And if you're in the middle of a polar, one of the vortex changes, the pole shift, yeah, that's probably not going to help the Canada. That thing's going to be all over the place. Apparently out, right, like when you walk out of the Oval Office, because I saw a picture of where this is actually located. It's kind of cool. But when you walk out of the Oval Office, right on the wall in front of you is this picture. Trump's mugshot on the New York Times. Very cool. And he's just basically smirking about the whole thing. And he should be at this point. President Donald Trump, oh, this was awesome, shushes. This was I forget the name. I feel like she was in there somewhere. But the chick from CNN, the smug, brown-haired, youngin' girl. She looks, anyway, whatever. I'm going to sound like an idiot, but, well, more of an idiot than I typically sound like. How about that? Better.
That's a good one.
Mr. President, you won the White House in part because of high inflation. If your tariffs make prices go up...
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please.
Asked you to speak yet. I haven't asked you to speak yet. Do you think he grabbed her by the P word right after that? Probably should have. Here's Level Playing Field talking about the tariffs. We're going to play this. It's worth it. I'm sorry I'm going long today. I'm trying to work on the length of the shows, but also a lot of you guys don't care. Some of you do. But I thought this was important. I'm going to probably play it at full speed. Oh, that would help. And I will. I'm going to kick up the playback rate because it's not like you're going to miss anything. We'll go 125 on this one. That'll help a little bit. But here's Trump talking about the tariffs, what this means. They're reciprocal tariffs in the places where they don't necessarily allow our products in or whatever. He's got a way to sort of work on that problem. He talks about all this, and this is going to be a big deal. This is actually, I think, going to level the playing field and really start to fix a lot of the imbalances and huge money that we spend as a country. This is kind of it's groundbreaking, and I don't think we can appreciate it for as much as it is.
The United States, which a lot of countries do, including our allies. Our allies, in many cases, are worse than our enemies in this, having to do with trade. And this has been going along. That's why we have a $36 trillion amount of money that we owe. We owe $36 trillion, but that'll come down rapidly. Likewise, provisions will be made for non-monetary tariffs, and a non-monetary, that's where they charge and they do things that aren't, there's no dollar amount, but they make it impossible for you to do business. They do tests on cars, like dropping a bowling ball on the hood of a car, and if the hood doesn't withstand it, which no hood would except for an army tank, then they say, I'm sorry, you can't sell your car into a certain country. That's a non-monetary tariff. So this is in order to take economic advantage. Likewise, the provisions for the non-monetary tariffs and trade barriers that some countries charge, and most countries, many countries have something to that effect in order to keep our product out of their domain, or if they do not even let the U.S. businesses operate. So in some countries, they just won't let us even operate there. They charge us a lot, but they won't even let us go in. And we have many of them. And what our Secretary of Commerce, standing right behind me, Howard Lutnick, what he's going to be doing is he's going to come up with a number that's an equivalent number to that. But in many countries, not too many, but quite a few, they don't let us do business. They effectively don't let us do business. So we're going to put a number on that is a fair number. We're able to accurately determine the cost of these non-monetary trade barriers, and we'll be able to do that very accurately. It's fair to all. No other country can complain, and in some cases, if a country feels that the United States would be getting too high a tariff, all they have to do is reduce or terminate their tariff against us, in which case we're going to pay the same thing. There is no tariff. So if they have a tariff and then they complain that this is too high, all they have to do is reduce their tariff or not charge it. I think there'll be certain countries, it's already happened. I believe I heard that the EU today or yesterday lowered the tariff on their cars to 2.5% because that's what we charge. And they lowered it from 10%, but it was really much higher than 10%. But 10% to 2.5, that's already happened. That's a big win. We've been after that to happen for many years, but it never happened. But nobody did anything about it, sitting in this lovely chair. So there are no tariffs if you manufacture or build your product in the United States. So if you build your product in the United States, there are no tariffs, nothing. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't exist. A lot of companies will come back to the United States to build their product, make their product in the United States, because there will be no tariff, nothing. For many years, the U.S. has been treated unfairly by other countries, both friend and foe. This system will immediately bring fairness and prosperity back into the previously complex and unfair system of trade. We had a very unfair system to us. Everybody took advantage of the United States, and we paid a big price for it. America has helped many countries throughout the years at great financial cost. It is now time that these countries remember what we've done for them and treat us fairly. We want a level playing field for all American workers. We want a level playing field for the United States of America. I've instructed my Secretary of State, my Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of the Treasury, and the United States Trade Representative to do all the necessary work to deliver reciprocity, in other words, reciprocal reciprocity to our system of trade. So we're going to have a reciprocal tax. Whatever they charge, we charge. If they don't let us in, we're going to determine a value for that. But overall, it's going to be a very simple system. Whatever they charge, we charge. So nobody can complain. I don't think anybody can complain. And I'm going to sign this. And the numbers are going to be very fair, but staggering. They're going to be large, but very fair. And this should have been done years ago. And I did it in a different form with tariffs and taxes on China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars. No other president, as you know, ever took in 10 cents. But that was a few countries. That wasn't what we're doing now. Now we're doing it with every country. So this is every country. And essentially, when they treat us fairly, we treat them fairly. It's a very fair way of doing it.
Trump is forcing them to play ball. And the ones that resist to the end, this will be the curious part. I'm thinking it's going to be the G7 countries, frankly. The people that are quote unquote our biggest allies. Watch. Because we've been giving them money. That's why they're our allies. And it's what it's always been about, the fraud and corruption, and the money that's been going out is going to people it shouldn't be going to. Trump's shutting it all down. Nearly 1,300 probationary employees at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, roughly 1/10 of the agency's workforce, are being forced out under Trump's new moves. The Atlanta-based agency leadership was notified of the decision Friday morning. The verbal notice came from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in a meeting with CDC leaders, according to a federal official who was at the meeting. Now, this is happening in Atlanta. We haven't heard of any other locations yet. I'm assuming there's some because this is only 1/10. But interestingly, it's in Georgia. Georgia's funny because, they've got the really serious problem with elections and information. The current governor and the attorney general, all the problems that have existed down there. It's interesting that they're one of the places that's literally going to lose out on a bunch of money. Interesting, right? CDC's going to have to shut down at least a bunch of people there. Verbal notice, yada, yada. Officials were not authorized to discuss this, of course. Hundreds of staff at the agency responsible for maintaining the U.S. nuclear stockpile were fired. So they're making a big deal about this. Trump's thinning down everywhere, but they're trying to find stuff that'll scare people. So the National Nuclear Security Administration ensures the United States maintains a safe, secure, and reliable nuclear stockpile. Well, that's being shut down, folks. You're going to die. Wait, aren't we always panicking? People are silly willies. I was on a show last night, actually, oddly. Live show. It was fun, and I had no idea what I was in for. I was invited, and they said, "Hey, Dan, you come on. We just drink. It's like a drinking thing. Come on and drink. Not that we're trying to get drunk or anything, but you just come out, hang out, have a good time." That was kind of my understanding of the thing. And I didn't know. I should have asked more questions. But what was interesting about it, and it was super cool, in fact, is so I've met the husband and wife on a phone call when I joined Pet Club 247. By the way, I love this product. I love what they're doing. But there's a story on this. So I've met them on the phone, and it was like really, really cool. So the group I was in with yesterday was, well, one, the wife. I'd never seen her. That was stunning. I mean, no disrespect to her husband, but good God, I was surprised how stunning she was. And then Diana, but they're both like these experts on this mushroom and the effects this mushroom has. This mushroom seems to have an effect. They put it out to 4 different pets. People, dogs, cats, and horses. And of course people are pets. Get out of here. What? No, you don't agree? Whatever. This product, there's countless examples of people that have literally had assistance in at least the process of cancer. It's helped a lot through that process. Very good friend. I had him on the show. He talked about this. He was taking, the average dose, they say, is 1 pill per 50 pounds, right? So that's what you should do a day. That's the normal dose. That's just like, cool. Now, if you're someone that's maybe got some things that you want to try to assist, then you're going to try to, triple that, quadruple that. You're going to go a little heavier. But what we've heard and what a lot of the evidence suggests is it's making a huge difference. Works in people. This mushroom, Coriolis versicolor, it's the mushroom. Works in people, works in dogs, cats, and horses. There's a lot of ways that you can get this into your diet. For humans, there's pills. These are, I love them. These ones are like the more mineral-y ones. I think the green is, and again, I'm sure there's benefits that this one has reishi, this one. But it's, I don't know. The way I look at it, it's like I got to take these pills. It's going to help. And it is. And I'm noticing differences. I'm staying healthier. I'm also doing the stuff with the healthy home. And I'm just, wow. It's like it's a trip. And, from my manifesting crazy stuff, when you actually focus on being healthy, What does that mean? Well, you're doing things. You're behaving in such a way that provides health. I go to the gym every day. I'm taking products that are helping me maintain my healthiness. And I do, yes, in fact, have some, bad habits. It's part of why I'm like trying to at least make sure I'm compensating with some good stuff, right? This is a way to really reinforce. They've even got the gummies, and they're delicious, by the way. Oh, got them right here. The gummies are awesome. Almost done with this one. I've still got a couple others but they're delicious. They make a difference. This actually, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. They've got it for dogs. They've got it for cats. They've got it for humans. There's different ways you can give it to your animals. Mush puppies is a great one for dogs. Mojo's if you've got a cat, or dogs too, because it's just a liver treat. It's got that stuff in there. You've got special sauce. You've got this freeze-dried food. Great foods, high-quality foods, no chemicals. They've got toys, the antler sticks and stuff like this is super good for these, for your animals, right? And when they chew on it, they just want a stick. They don't really care. It doesn't mean anything to them. They're like, what kind of stick is that? Was it made in China? Where was it made? Like, they don't care. You give them a stick, they're like, sweet, a stick. Oh my God. And then they start chewing on it. Well, when they chew on the antler, they're getting like calcium and stuff. Like, that's mineral. It's good for them. Most of the toys we give them have lead and other crazy stuff. So again, huge number of awesome products. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Dan, why are you so into this product? Why do you take it every day? I smoked for 21 years. And I just figure, and I know, and I understand from the research that this will help with whatever might be. But I understand there's some other stuff too, but I use those products as well, and we talk about those, and that's also products that I promote. So there are a few approaches that I talk about, and I believe in very much, and I live as well. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. That's danradiostyle.petclub247.com. It was quite an awesome show, especially when I started finding out some of the neat stuff. So keep those things in mind as we navigate the waters in front of us. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's plane was diverted back to D.C., had mechanical issues. Don't know. He was going to take another plane. Of course, he made it back. Everything was cool, but something wasn't groovy on that plane. That's kind of a trip. Also finding out that Pope Francis was hospitalized on Friday, received treatments for a bout of bronchitis. Again, he's been having some strange issues. Fell down even though the dude can't walk. I don't know what's going on. I feel like they're close to maybe admitting that the Pope might not be around too much longer. This is J.D. Vance talking about the enemy within. So again, not just being badass when it came to the free speech, but also talking about the enemy within. Check this out.
Believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine. And we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense. The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them.
Dang. Called him out hard. Hard, right? That's fantastic. Clandestine posted this. Wow. Trump just accused Biden of starting the war in Ukraine. We're not joking. Check this out. This is freaking awesome. Oh, I don't have it. I thought we had it. That's so mean. But they said, and I think they're quoting him here, For decades, Russia have been clear that NATO membership for Ukraine was a hard red line, yet Biden pushed for membership anyways, provoking Russia. The deep state are responsible for this war. I wish they would have shared the actual audio. It's much more fun. But here is Zelensky talking about wanting NATO membership, even in English.
When we speak, and we spoke with the President Biden, and we spoke with the President Trump, and especially now with the President Trump, I asked, so, okay, if it's not NATO for today, if it's not NATO, we will ask tomorrow. It doesn't matter. But if we're speaking about today, what alternatives? What you know, the alternatives? I don't know. What I see, if we don't have NATO, real NATO, we will make NATO in Ukraine. It means that we need to increase our soldiers, our army, twice. We need, when we speak.
Yeah, it's all about more war. Now, think about where has the money been going? Now, if you get into the woo a little bit, this is quote unquote where the heart of the Khazarian mafia really lies, is right here. They supposedly walked down into this valley and they said, this is where we will rule the world. And we're messing with that in a major way. Saudi Arabia is all in on, they welcome the prospect of hosting Putin and Trump at a summit. That will be amazing. And the fact that they're going someplace like Saudi Arabia implies that we want to go to a place that we both trust. And that is, it's exactly what this is. So they're, of course, going to work on fixing stuff. They've got to play it up. Putin's got to look like the champion for his country. Trump's got to look like the champion for his country. Whatever they come up with, and this is part of the deal, I'm sure of it, is going to make both sides look awesome. Because we all want to succeed. We want the whole world to succeed. In fact, President Trump's talking about denuclearifying, getting rid of nukes. Let's try that.
Conversation about global defense spending, you, China,
Well,
Russia.
I'd like to have that, as soon as things settle down, I'm going to have that conference, primarily with China and Russia, because those are the two that really are out there. And we're going to have them spend a lot less money, and we're going to spend a lot less money. And I know they're going to do it. They agreed to it. We were talking about denuclearizing, and President Putin and I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. There's no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many, you could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons, and they're building nuclear weapons, and China's building new nuclear weapons, and China's trying to catch up because, you know, they're very substantially behind, but within 5 or 6 years, they'll be even. And we're all spending a lot of money that we could be spending on other things that are actually, hopefully, much more productive. Hopefully, there'll never be a time when we need those weapons. If there's ever a time when we need nuclear weapons, like the kind of weapons that we're building and that Russia has and that China has to a lesser extent, but will have, that's going to be a very sad day. That's going to be probably oblivion.
Yeah, there's no winners in a nuclear war. There's just not. And that's something that I think people have to accept. Trump wants U.S., China, and Russia to cut military spending in half. So he's going to try to work to cut down all spending. And it's a great idea. Like, we really don't need to fight each other, do we? But the problem has been trust, because the deep state's been so infiltrated within everything. When you remove the deep state, it becomes easier. And people ultimately just want to get along. That's for sure. In China, there's a lot of question around whether Xi is actually going to try to take China from the deep state, and maybe he needed to go a little longer on his term because of what's happening and how the Trump thing and Biden thing happened, and whatever the case is, there's a lot of discussion around the idea that Xi might actually be trying to, in fact, remove the CCP, or I've heard it's pronounced differently, though it's CPC, the China's something or other. It was, I think, I forget what his name was that was saying that, but Gene Decode, that guy was pronouncing it that way. I don't know what it is. CCP, whatever, is how the deep state calls it, and that's what we know it as for the most part. Liberal women, apparently, there was a poll that was done, are the least happy and loneliest in America. It's very sad, very sad. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how do you figure? People that gripe and complain and bitch all the time somehow unhappy? That's weird. never saw that coming. But yeah, they found a bunch of people. 37% of conservative women from ages 18 to 40 repeated being satisfied with their lives. Only 12% of liberal women feel the same way. Yeah, you can see what happens when you emotionally mess with someone, and it spawns this problem that they're never happy, never satisfied, never even, they don't even self-like, it's like kind of weird. It's bad. It's what the deep state's done to programming, but it's also important to understand this is some of what we're trying to disclose as well. And disclosure's also kind of just a funny thing. This whole thing with Paulina Luna and them releasing information. They've got this committee together. There's another one, too. In fact, it seems the Government on Reform, House, James Comer is part of this one. They established a task force. This task force is going to declassify federal secrets. They want to look at federal secrets before they actually get out to us, which, again, seems like another bureaucratic layer in between. Why do they need to see it? These people aren't necessarily read on national security stuff. Somebody posted to Luna specifically and says, hey, when stuff's made public, you should let us know immediately. Like, share the same second you get it, we should get it. And she's like, that's the plan. But many are wondering, we're going to hold them to that. That's for sure. Hopefully Luna's on the right track. This is why we've got the people in place that we've got. We're supposed to trust them. And sometimes I get it. Trust is hard to give. I'm there with you. But this is the plan. Within 45 days of the date of this order, the Director of National Intelligence and the Attorney General shall, in coordination with the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs and the Counsel to the President, review records related to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and present a plan to the President for the full and complete release of that information. So I guess they got to make sure it's they've made a Sesame Street out of it first before we go. Apple and Google have restored the TikTok app after assurances from the Trump administration, basically saying we're not going to come after you guys. So TikTok's back now. I'm not thrilled about that, but you guys rock and roll. And again, I can't ever move to Ohio and Mississippi. This really bums me out. And again, this is kind of where I think the extreme far right is out of their frickin' minds too. Got to say it every time. But apparently there's people that believe that if you, masturbate's what it sounds like to me, but I don't want to get into all the ejaculating without intent to make a baby. Like if you somehow have a wet dream, you're like, didn't mean to make a baby. It's a $10,000 fine. In Ohio and Mississippi, they're trying to put through this law. This is insanity to me. First off, they always said if you keep doing that, you'll go blind, and come to find out I need glasses and my eyes aren't exactly getting better. And this would destroy something that keeps me somewhat sane. All said. Crazy people out there. You don't want me jumping down your throat. Right? Don't F around and fight. Really? And then you think about all the people in jail, right? In jails and prisons that probably do that from once in a while, especially the ones that don't even care and probably do it disgustingly. Like that's a felony now too? Good Lord. Come on, people. And really, I don't want to get into the pictures too. Neither of these people look like they've ever literally had good sex. That's, I feel like, is the problem. You've had what are the ones that have the horses and no electricity and stuff? I feel like they've had some of that kind of sex. Just like that very rigid. Anyway, whatever. Gone too far. I'm sure I have. We got the music show coming up. We're doing, it's influenced by extreme. It's mostly like rock. I got some really cool Van Halen, Motley Crue, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne. A lot of good stuff's going to be in there. If not, you can watch the show after the effect. Going to be a lot of fun. Also going to be having the third Saturday of the month, the $5 thing. If you can go to, or if you want to be a part of it, it's a Zoom meeting. We hang out for usually a good solid hour and a half, sometimes a little longer. But we're going to be talking about the Houston trip because a bunch of people that are in this group are actually helping me with the back end of that, which is, again, on the fringe around the nation at gmail.com. That's on the fringe around the nation at gmail.com. That is the email if you can be there. Now, if you've already RSVP'd, that's awesome. There's quite a few people I'm not sure what we're going to do or how this is going to work. This is getting large. I don't think everybody's going to show that's saying they're going to show, but we're talking July 4th, literally going to be somewhere in the Houston area. And we're going to find some sort of place that will, one, let us do this. Hopefully let me hook up to some sort of sound source because I can't bring a bunch of equipment. I can bring some stuff. We're going to try to do a live, longer music show and maybe even have some sort of cool thing kind of going before. I don't know. We're going to see. I'm like sort of nervous that this is becoming bigger. I didn't realize how many people would actually consider coming. I thought it would be just like a quaint little intimate thing. But it's a lot of people are talking about showing up. So we'll get more information as we get closer to it. But if you're able to do that or want to do that or are for sure like, dude, I'd love to meet you, man. That'd be awesome. I live in the area. Go to On the Fringe Around the Nation at gmail.com. That's On the Fringe Around the Nation at gmail.com. All right, check it out. And we will, more great stuff going on. The world is changing so fast and there's so much to talk about. And I even cut a bunch of stuff. Damn it, I'm still long. All said. We're going to get there, folks. Shoulder to shoulder. I'm glad you guys are coming with me, and I look forward to doing, more damage to the deep state with you guys' help. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Where we go one, we certainly go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.